Hello, lovely people. I'm Stephanie Kubi, and I'm the host of the Help Before Mother podcast, and hopefully your favorite mom of three. In today's episode, we talk about the things I wish someone told me before I became a mom, all the assumptions that I had about motherhood, and my favorite song, Advice for New Moms. Today, we're going to start with a story time of how I really, really wanted my first child to be a boy. I went to the ultrasound room with my husband, and I was convinced it was a boy or I was having a son, not because of my symptoms, but because of my wounds. Okay, so now let's get into it. So we went into the ultrasound room. They checked, and the ultrasound technician, whatever, said it's a girl. And I kept saying, keep checking. Like, what do you mean? And this was the first appointment. Every other appointment after that, I kept asking about the gender of this child. And they kept telling me it was a girl. I remember after I found out the first time on the way home, I was crying. I was telling my husband, it can be a girl. I don't basically want it to be a girl. It has to be a boy. It has to be a boy. I was like gender disappointment, which is crazy because it's your first child. You're like, what's the issue? After you have a girl and you're like, you still want a boy, you can try again, whatever it is. But I was so adamant on having a boy. And so I was hopeful that on the day that I would give birth, it would be a mistake and it would be a boy. But I kept having dreams about my daughter, and I could see her face, I could see her skin tone, I could see everything. My husband also had dreams about her face. So we both knew what she looked like before she was born. I just couldn't come to terms with the fact that it was a girl. So the day that she was born, I was on the bed and I asked my husband if it was a boy or a girl. Still, it was obviously still a girl. And I wanted to preface with that story because sometimes, especially, well, in life in general, but for me in motherhood, sometimes I think that the things that I need to be a mom or be the best mom is not actually what I need. And I think that that is something that is so freeing for moms to know. It's easy for you to feel like, okay, I don't have the budget for a certain device or a certain tool or a certain baby product, or I'm not in a certain place emotionally or mentally, so I can't be the best mom to this child. But you don't realize that the reason why you have that specific child is to teach you something about that same thing you're struggling with. But you think it's a roadblock when it's really a blessing and an eye opener. And to tie that together, my daughter's arrival was the beginning of my real healing journey as a woman because I've been a very hurt and wounded woman for a while and I've suppressed it. I've not spoken about it. And I've just been a different person. My whole personality has shifted due to issues I've had with other women or insecurities that I've had with myself or things I've seen in my bloodline when it came to women. And so I felt like if maybe my grandmother struggled with this thing, my mother struggled with this thing, and I'm struggling with this thing, then my daughter is going to struggle with that thing. But what if the reason why I'm going to have a daughter is to make sure that that thing ends with me? And so for me, I think that a huge thing we don't talk about or moms don't touch on is that the hard ships or the hard part of motherhood for me, honestly, has been the healing whilst raising. And I think if we talk more about that, more moms will be prepared. I think we have a lot of baby hauls and baby showers and all these things. They are great, but it's not the products and the routines and the things that make you a great mom. It's how are you healing? How are you regulated? How are you communicating? What is the inside voice of your child going to be like? Because that's your voice. How are you going to separate what you didn't have from what your children need? How are you going to not spill or not transfer trauma to your children? How are you going to heal so that you don't pass on pain to your children? There were things that I was struggling with when it came to my daughter. I realized that when I'll take her to play group and maybe a child didn't want to play with her or she was kind of rejected, I would go home and cry because that affected me so negatively. But for her, it was fine. Like it was somebody wanted to play with me. Okay, I went to play with someone else, or I played by myself. But for me, it was triggering the wound of rejection. So I think the more we talk about the realities of why motherhood is hard, the easier it would be for other moms. Sometimes it's hard because we are still healing. On that note, I wanted to talk about some truths that I discovered in motherhood. But before I touch on that, I wanted to talk about the assumptions I had about motherhood. So for me, I've always, again, from the last episode, I've always wanted to be a mom. However, I don't want to be a mom that is always overstimulated, always tired, always nagging, always complaining, always reminding my kids of all the things that I've done for them and I'm doing for them and how much I had to sacrifice for them. I've just always wanted to be the mom that wanted my children to know they are loved and wanted and planned and enjoyed. Going into motherhood, I assumed that because I had this mindset, it would just be easy to communicate that. But once I got into motherhood, I realized that the reason it's hard for moms or moms that I saw to communicate that is because they were juggling so many things. It's because there was so much pressure and expectations on them. And so it's easy to voice your frustrations in that way. I would say that a truth that I learned is that motherhood would magnify your heart issues. Your heart issues are going to be glaring in your face once you become a mom. What if you feel rejection or you feel insecure? It will show up in motherhood, and you wouldn't use those words, but it will come across in a different way. Your child will be experiencing you in a different way if you don't address that. A truth that I learned in motherhood is children do as you do, not as you say. That was my biggest realization because it's easy to give a plate of veggies to my daughter, give her a cup of water, do all these things because I want her to be healthy. But she never sees me drinking water. She never sees me eating veggies. It's like, why are you telling me to do the things that you do not do? And so whatever I want my daughter to be, I must be that. And I know that it's easier said than done because there's so many things that we're juggling as moms. It's like you're getting to know yourself. You're molding this new person. You have community, you have career, you have your marriage, you have all these many things. And so it's easy for you not to show up, but you can make the time. And if you don't take your time, like take back your time in motherhood, you're going to be depleted and your children are going to feel that. So in motherhood, to take back your time, you need to sit down and ask yourself the kind of mother you want to show up as. And however that looks, you make the time for that. So I have a perfect example. For me, I want to be a rested mother. I want to be a mom that gets enough sleep, a mom that moves her body, a mom that eats well, a mom that doesn't yell all the time, a mom that is still chasing her dreams, a mom that is present for her children. And that all boils down to having a lot of discipline and consistency when it comes to showing up. I can't tell my children, take care of yourself, prioritize your hygiene, go after your dreams, and not do that. It's really hard for them to reconcile both. So I've realized that planning my night before, planning my day the night before is very essential. I've realized that having my children in a sleep routine keeps them rested and gives me time to rest as well. It means that I'm intentional with what I'm doing with my time and I'm leaning on others for support. So when it comes to motherhood, the truth is you can add yourself to the list of people you need to take care of by prioritizing your time and modeling to your family that you also need time for you. That shows them to value you. It shows them to make room for you. And it also shows them that they have to show up for themselves and it reminds them that we are family centered unit and team. We're not children centered. We're not marriage centered. Everyone has needs and we have to come together to make sure our cups are filled so we can show up as the best family team for each other. When it comes to learning, I think I'm going to give it up one to be a firstborn. The funny thing about being a firstborn is you don't realize how resourceful you are. I mean, we know, but when I became a mom, I was like, yo. But no, seriously, it's God and wisdom because I have been a stay-at-home mom for a while. I've been a career mom. I've been an entrepreneur mom. I have tasted and seen of the different kinds of things I want to do as a mom. And it has made me realize, okay, what kind of life, again, it's so important. Like, write down the kind of mom you want to be. Like, there are moms that are like, when I'm home fully with my family and with my children, not working, I feel fulfilled and I feel no waste. The moms that I absolutely can't do that. I have to work. I'm a career mom. I'm called to the marketplace. And the moms like me, I would say, that it's like, you want to have your cake and eat it too. Like, I want to be present for all the activities for my children and stuff, but my brain is so creative and I have to execute stuff. I have to do stuff with my hands, with my brain, whatever. So because I've tasted and seen all three, I've realized that the one that works for me is the entrepreneurial mom. And so to make that work, it's like, what can I do to make sure I'm pouring into my cup, but to also make sure that me pouring into my cup is not eating into the time I need to show up for my husband or my children or my community. Like, I don't want to be pouring into my business and not showing up for my friends. And I don't want to be showing up for my children and resenting my husband. Or I don't want to be chasing the bag. And my husband was like, I've not seen that woman in a couple of days. Something that's helped me find harmony in all the things is to plan my time and my schedule well, in the sense that if I'm working, I am splitting it throughout the month. I'm not trying to do everything in one sitting. My filming days are different from my editing days. I delegate a lot because what I prioritize the most is my family. So if something requires me to be here, I'm going to show up here and I can delegate the rest. And I have also taken notes of the stuff that I enjoy and I don't want to delegate. And then I make sure I show up for that. And so honestly, it's Jesus, it's being a firstborn, it's having many planners, it's leaning on my community to show up for me, just making sure that I'm getting enough support and I'm delegating as much as I can so that I can show up for myself, first of all, because I'm a woman first, and the woman that I am is the wife that I'll be, and it's also the mom that I'll be. If I'm not rested and I'm not doing the things that I need to do at the right time, that's when guilt sets in. That's when resentment sets in. That's when anger sets in. That's when fatigue sets in. That's when overstimulation sets in. So I think that pouring into my cup first, I know it involves wellness and also involves work for me personally. So making space for both and also showing up for my husband, showing up for my children, showing up for my friends. Because of all these things I have in place, it allows me to do that. Not all perfectly, by different seasons. Because honestly, I'm not of the notion that once you have kids, you have to pause everything. I've seen a lot of content and stuff around that where it's like, oh, you're in a childbearing age or you're a child rearing age and put your stuff on pause. And then when they leave the house, you can continue. I think I will be, I don't know, an absolute nightmare to be with if I ever did that. So even if it means giving myself 3 hours out of a month to just do the things that I also want to do, I'm going to be the better mom and a happier mom and a well-balanced mom and spouse and person altogether. For new moms, I have so much to tell you. First of all, give yourself grace. As long as your child is born is as long as you've been their mom. So if you have a 1 day old, you can't be acing it and you can't be failing either. They are figuring out how to nurse and you're figuring out how to nurse them. Let's just stay there. With my first daughter, something that I learned is that there's tongue ties, there's lip ties. I never knew that existed. And I thought I was failing as a mom. At the hospital when I couldn't nurse her, she had a tongue tie and lip tie. And the person that's supposed to check that before we leave wasn't there that day. So I didn't know till I saw the midwife days after. I needed to use a nipple shield. Nobody told me that there was something like that. So she got it snipped. She couldn't nurse. So sometimes we are just so hard on ourselves because this is our first time doing it. And we have to remember that I've been a mom as long as this child has been alive. And every stage actually your first child goes through is new to you too. So I need you to remember that. You're figuring out how to swaddle them. They've never been swaddled either. So you're both learning. So I would say be gracious with yourself. The second thing is figure out the kind of mom you want to be and do not let anyone's standards be your standards. I have seen many discourses on Once I have a baby, I'm off to work. Once I have a baby, I'm giving up my life. Once I have a baby, do you know what I mean? Like the people that have different things that they want to do with their different children because of their different experiences and different things that they're convicted about. You can't make someone else's standards your standards. Like that's something that you should throw out the window. It's inward. And it's also very vertical. It's not like what are my friends doing? What's this person saying? What did my mom do? You have to really sit with yourself and say, as a mom, as a woman, as a person, as God's child, what am I called to do? And how am I going to make that happen? There's levels of intensity, there's levels of intentionality, there's levels and seasons, but you have to know what you are called to do because there's always guilt. You stay home, it's like, what are you doing? You go to work, you're never with your kids, you're an entrepreneur, why do you want so much? Like there's always a pro and con, basically. So sit with yourself and know that the standard is the Lord and what He's called you to do. I know that's hard, but that's 110%. Don't let other people's standards be yours. The third thing I'll tell a new mom is that motherhood is a journey, not a destination. Before I became a mom, I decided not to join any mom groups because I saw so many horror stories of like, this person's water broke and this happened and that person, and I was already thinking the worst because I was in the best place. I would say that know that motherhood is a journey and do not let that make you rush anything. Like you go to mom group sometimes and they'll say, my child is, I don't know, 4 months and is rolling and your child is 4 and they'll just want to lie on you. Yes, there's medical stuff that you need to check and all that, but it's not a race. And I think that we do not talk enough about mothers learning what it means to have confidence in their own journey. The last thing I would say is that you have to be confident that God has graced you to be the mother to the specific child that you have. I think that many times we want our children to do a certain thing, or we think we can't do a certain thing because you feel like your child is called to something. Listen, motherhood is very sacrificial and it also involves a lot of surrender, as I had said in the previous episode. So you have to be surrendered and you have to be sacrificial. Not in the sense that like you're depleted or whatever, but there are things that you have to do that you wouldn't normally do if you didn't have kids. And so I would say that you have to be courageous in the Lord. That's a good way to summarize that. You have to be courageous in the Lord to know that you have the grace, you have the ability, you have the capability to do and to show up for your child how God has called you to. Never make, again, someone else's standards your standards. Like whatever God has told you to do, you are graced to do it and you can do it. You have to learn with motherhood. If you're a people pleaser, it's going to hit you hard. Speaking from another people pleaser or recovering people pleaser, you have to be tunnel vision. People have so much to say about your journey, whether to your face, behind your back. There's so many mamas, there's so many in-laws, there's so many friends, so many people that say stuff. And if you're not confident, you're not tunnel vision, you're not in alignment with the Lord, you're not surrendered, you're not still, you can't hear it. And I'm not saying do not take accountability, do not take other people's advice or opinions, whatever. That's all good and dandy, but you still need discernment. You still need to sift advice. You can't do every single thing everyone is suggesting you should do. I guess this will be the last one. Do not take advice from people you won't swap lives with. If they have, I don't know, 10 children and they tell you these are all the things you did, and the 10 children they're talking about are not the kind of children you want to raise, I think that applies to many other things too. Like, you don't take marriage advice from someone that doesn't like their spouse. Yes, you can take marriage advice from someone that has gone through things, yes. But if you actually don't like your spouse or I don't think your marriage is healthy, why would I take advice from you? It's the same way with your parenting and with your motherhood journey. Make sure that you can take advice from people that's like, oh, I wish I did this thing and I didn't do it. That's different from you should do it this way because I did it this way and you're not seeing the fruit of that. Motherhood is a journey. It's not a destination. And the seed that you plant today, you won't see the fruit today. So just know that you will see the fruit one day and you'll be taken aback. So just keep watering, keep adding the fertilizers, keep making sure the sun is hitting it, keep taking care of it, tending to your own. And motherhood is a ministry. Never look down on yourself because you're not showing up in other ways the way you used to. It's a ministry and it's refining you as well. So that brings me to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching the Her Before Mother podcast. Again, I'm Stephanie. Hopefully now your favorite mom of three. And I hope I see you in the next one. Share with a friend, subscribe, comment below, and let's meet again.